Since our childhood, the school system has been programming all of us to be passive to whatever we learn, and we were taught that learning is consuming and memorizing a bunch of information and use it to only answer the exam sheet and to never sit down and think deeply about the material we're learning. And even that got worse with the excessive use of social media that is used as a coping mechanism for a lot of people to escape all of the uncomfortable questions and problems that haunt them. And they think that the excessive seek of entertainment will make them satisfied and happy. But soon enough, the moment that the phone is put down, they realize that this is not the case at all, and it will never be. But they don't want to admit that to themselves. Our mission in this life is to create. We are not meant to keep consuming and consuming without creating and without sitting down and thinking about whatever we consume and reflect on it to come up with conclusions that can be beneficial for us and that will help us create whatever we want to create. Creating gives a meaning to our lives because we are here to create and grow and get out of our comfort zone and solve problems and try and discover new things and use our brain for something meaningful. And these experiences that we accumulate in the journey really adds some richness to our lives. Since the beginning of the existence of human beings, we have been creating. It started with creating symbols to communicate, and slowly that form of expression started expanding until we got here because we have this great desire to find forms to express ourselves through creating and put our energy into trying to make sense of this world and our ideas and communicate it through making tangible things and getting them out of our system to feel relieved. I don't know if you guys have ever experienced this feeling of restlessness because you have ideas racing in your mind that want to be expressed, but when you are denying them and refusing to let them out, they start torturing you for doing so. That's why it is so important to find ways to express these ideas and give yourself the chance to be creative. If there is one thing that I learned from this process of creating and being creative is that it really pushes you to doubt what you've known your whole life and to learn to think for oneself and not just take information that you learned from an intelligent person or an expert and take it as a fact without trying to think about it. We've learned to be intelligent is to look at what popular philosophers and thinkers said and read their work and take it as fact and not try to analyze it. We've been taught that being smart is learning the most of information and accumulate as much as we can, but that is not the case at all because when you're just accumulating information, you are passive to it and you never understand it even if you think you do, and you fall into this trap of feeling the pressure to agree with everything that you consume because in your head you're like, this person is more knowledgeable and there is other people who believe it as well, so I need to conform to these beliefs and not question them, and you never give yourself the chance to take the opposite direction or explore the questions that you have, and you put yourself into this mold. And even there is this psychology phenomenon called groupthink where people set aside their own personal beliefs and try to adopt the opinion of the group in order to fit the group instead of engaging in critical thinking and evaluate and search other perspectives. But when you start creating and you start going into the outside world with the perspective to create, it forces you to rethink and reevaluate all your beliefs and open yourself up to new perspectives and analyze what moved you and caught your attention that help you to reach new conclusions and to think critically about something instead of just scratching the surface of it because you start understanding that things have layers into them, and this helps you to appreciate more the work that exists out there and add your own touch to it by seeing it from a new angle and finding answers to the holes that exist in the subject and start noticing things that you have never noticed and paid attention to before. And from that you go and you create the life you want to have, or a business or an art or a book, whatever it is. Creating is not just limited to art. And I did notice that with myself, where when I started consuming with the intention to create and go out there and have experiences that I can create from, I found myself engaging more critically with what I consume. For example, if I am going to read a book, instead of falling into this old habit of reading fast to finish it and get it off my way, now I read more intentively because I know that I will create and make my own summary of the book, and I will try to find something in it that I can connect to something that I already learned or came across. And also, when you start creating and seeing the world from that perspective, you become very selective with what you consume, because you know in order to create something you're proud of, you need to protect your peace and energy, which means you become very selective with what you consume, because you don't want to just consume and feed your brain unnecessary information that doesn't inspire anything, and it just makes you feel empty, and it drains your energy when you encounter it, and you start craving these moments of peace where there is only silence to give your brain the space to elaborate and think more about a solution to a problem or a thought that have been crossing and occupying your mind lately, or just exist and appreciate the present moment and relax, because you start valuing these moments of peace and silence, because they help you to take a step back from everything and to not get trapped in this cycle of just working and working or consuming, and restore your energy and slow down, which is something that a lot of us struggle with these days. But when you start creating, you start valuing these moments, because you understand that in order to see the fruits of your efforts, you need to rest. Creating teaches you to not adopt that black and white thinking that we see a lot in social media in real life, where some people refuse to accept that two things can exist at once, and life is not black and white, and there is some layers to uncover in order to deeply understand something. Sometimes we need to suppress our desire of shortcuts to understand something and engage more deeply with the material in hand to form an opinion about it. But now we live in an age where AI is making that worse. And by the way, I am not hating on AI, because I believe it has some great advantages, where it is facilitating the execution of some certain tasks that were not possible in the past. And even I use it myself for school sometimes. But these advantages that it has, like giving you a personalized answer to your question about a subject, can turn into a disadvantage, especially when it is used excessively, where people rely on these AI chatbots and their answers to form an opinion about something, and they do not learn to take some time to think about something and try to see it from another perspective and also do more research about it. They just take whatever AI gives them and they run away with it, and they think it is the truth, and usually these answers are superficial. They are just the start, and you need to dig deeper. But sadly, I feel like a lot of people just want the quick answer and to optimize their time all the time and just take the shortcuts to things, and they never develop any deep understanding about anything. And by the way, I am not saying you have to understand everything deeply and analyze everything you encounter, because not everything will catch your interest. I'm just saying to resist the temptation to always want the quick answer to something and conclusion to something, because you don't give yourself the chance to investigate the matter deeply and connect it to something else to create something new. And one of the best examples that I can give is from this book called How to Make Smart Notes. And in that book, the author said that one of the reasons that Niklas Luhmann, I don't know if I pronounced that right, never ran out of ideas to write about is because he always consumed with the intention to find possible connections between ideas and concepts, and he always took time to look at his notes and see the possible connections that he could make. And this journey is time consuming because he had to read the books, find the connections, and also make the notes. But it was rewarding because, first of all, he had a deeper understanding of the things that he was reading about, and he was actively engaging with what he was reading, and also he was having questions and he was trying to find answers to these questions. Second of all, this allowed him, all of these conclusions that he came up with and all of these connections allowed him to produce something unique and something new and something creative and bring something new to the table. Personally, I love going out with the intention to create because when I started adapting this mindset, I found myself paying attention to things I've never paid attention to before, and I feel like a veil was removed from my vision because I am not passive to life anymore, where I let algorithms control my life and be in the passenger seat, where I don't value my time and I let whatever comes in front of me waste it. I am not just accepting whatever I am taught at school and just consuming information without using it for something useful. And also, I am not just doom scrolling the whole day. If you struggle with doom scrolling, it's because you have no life worth living and you're not creating. You don't have a hobby that you look forward to do or a goal to work on. Pick a hobby that you like and try it out. If you want to start reading, for example, you can download books online for free and read them. Or if you want to draw, take a pencil and a paper and start drawing. Or if you want to start writing, take a journal or a piece of paper and write. You don't need fancy material to start. I know that there is some expensive hobbies out there, but you can stay away from them and see what you can do with the means you have. It will help you to slowly start enjoying life. A life that is not meant to be experienced and lived with an overstimulated brain 24/7. A life that is not meant to be lived where you just look for shortcuts to everything. I hate this new approach to productivity and self-development that I see online, where they are so focused all the time to get things done fast and read books fast, or even worse, to only interact with the summary of a book that was posted online to learn things fast, because that way you're not quote unquote wasting your time. I prefer to read a book and fully appreciate it and analyze it and try to look for other ideas to connect it with and fully appreciate what the author wrote and see what are the ideas that stood out to me the most and really caught my attention than just reading a summary that may only highlight the ideas that I do not care about. Sometimes things take time to click, and this is something that I also learned from creating. It is teaching me to appreciate the process and to learn that things and ideas, they take time to develop and to understand, because sometimes you need more connections and a bit more of experience to understand and find answers to those confusions. Creating teaches you to connect things and not see them as separate, like in school where we were taught to see each subject on its own and we did not learn to connect them, and even we never thought that we can connect them together. But when you start creating, you start seeing the connections between subjects and you realize how everything complements each other, and you try to use those connections to make something new. Creating teaches you the skill of execution. You learn how to execute projects and develop skills, and it helps you to develop your problem solving skills and to learn to put your ego aside and allow yourself to be bad, because when you're gonna start creating something, you will be bad at it and you will make a lot of mistakes in the beginning, and you will have to learn to not let that discourage you from continuing and developing, because you will have to face all of these inner voices that tell you you're bad, you're not worthy, who do you think you are, etc., etc., that tries to put you down and make you doubt your worth and compare yourself to the people who are better than you, in the sense that you are like, I will never be them, I am dumb, I am not as smart as them, because you only see the achievements and you don't see the hours that were put to develop that skill and the setbacks they had to face. You will have to learn to ask questions, especially the stupid ones, in order to learn, because shying away from asking the stupid questions, is far worse than never asking them, because you never get the answer and your ignorance about the subject starts growing. Sometimes we shy away from asking the stupid questions, and even we underestimate them because we feel embarrassed and ashamed to ask them and seek the answers. It humbles you to admit your own ignorance because it forces you to look at your weaknesses and to face them. We find it painful sometimes to admit to ourselves that we're bad and we're not good at something, and our ego gets hurt by that, and it tries to protect us by pushing us away from that thing. And I think this might be one of the reasons why a lot of people stop themselves from trying, and they never give themselves the chance to create something, because the first thing that comes to their brain is the person who is better than them, and they have low image about themselves, that they are like, I can't do it, so why bother? And they keep scrolling and doing the opposite of what they want to do because they have that mental block that they can't create. And who are they to have the audacity and the desire to do so? And if that is your case, I do recommend you to investigate these blocks that are preventing you from creating whatever you want to create, and try to come up with the evidence that disproves those ideas, and try to take the small steps to show to your brain that you can. Sometimes we let our past incapabilities and failures to dedicate how we need to move forward, and we stay stuck and blocked because of it. 2 years or 3 years has passed since that failure happened, but still you are clinging to it, and you think that present you can't do it, and you never give your current version the possibility to try. When I started creating YouTube videos, writing in my free time, making book reviews, learning skills, etc., etc., I found myself so many times stopping myself from developing or even starting to create something, because I was like, I can't do it. Why? Because 2 years ago I was not able to do it and I failed at it. But I try to remind myself is the past is the past. It's not because I was not able to create something in the past, then I can't do it now. Why stopping myself and my brain from discovering that thing and trying it out and learn something from it and unlock new information about myself? Because when you start creating, you start learning what you like and what you dislike. How are you evolving with time? What are the things that you are able to do? What are the things that influenced you, and how you can get inspired from them to create something? All of these questions start going on in your mind when you start creating, and you're not just passive and NPC to this life, but an active member to it. And that is why you start living when you start creating, where you experience both the ugly side of it that comes with doubt and fears and failures, and the beautiful side of it that comes with seeing how far you've grown and notice things about life that can be appreciated, and you start developing the desire to live and experience life in order to use those experiences to create something you're proud of and that will benefit others and also create your inner world.